What is up, heroes of Dominion? My name is Charlie. This is Hero War Central, and in this video, I'm going to break down for you the 7 or so heroes that you need to win 100% of the time in not only the Mojo Brawls, which is what effectively this video is about, but also against any other arena or Guild War team you may come up against. These 7 heroes, which I'm going to be leveling in the next year or so. And by the way, if you don't know what heroes to level, these are a good set of heroes to choose from. Using this group of heroes and my little decision tree that I put together for this Mojo Brawl. Of course, you may need to tweak it for other situations, other brawls, guild wars, arena, all of that. But using this decision tree, you can win 100% of the time. Assuming, of course, we are dealing at absolute maxed out, max testing, maxed level, maxed everything, which I know most of you will never get there, but still it's fun and interesting to look at. By the end of this video, you're going to understand how several heroes work well together, a couple of really interesting counterplays that you can make based on what the enemy defending lineup is bringing to the fight, and hopefully you'll learn a little bit more about some team building strategy aside from what YouTubers like me or what somebody on Facebook or the Discord might just tell you to build, because it's quote-unquote the best or meta or good. In the end, this is a game for fun, and you should build absolutely what you enjoy, build what you like to look at, build what you think will work long-term. This game moves way too fast for this video to last forever. I love you all. Good luck in Dominion.
It's only a game. Why you have to be mad?
There are basically a couple of ways to go about the Mojo Brawl. I spent a little bit of time tracking people that I fought, the brawl log, and you can see I didn't do a ton of fights, but I did quite a bit. Something that I've noticed, there's a couple of different styles of teams that significantly pop up. This being a mage hero, you would think that Rufus would be a more prominent choice, but a lot of people choose Aurora for 2 reasons. First of all, people choose Aurora because it's their favorite tank, right? And the other reason is because Aurora is great versus magic damage. Now, if you're including a hero like Mojo in your lineup, and you have to, by the way, you have to include Mojo. If you include this hero that has an a magic penetration artifact, you may want to build a magic damage team. Therefore, a lot of people are using Aurora. I'm barely seeing any Rufuses. Maybe somebody else are seeing something different, but I'm not seeing hardly any Rufuses at all. So I started building this decision tree. I was talking with Magician Depone, who was here in the live stream, sent me a nice team. I was speaking with a couple of other players having to do with making decisions about this, trying to find the best team. And to be perfectly honest with you, there is no best team for this brawl, because any team that works will have a counter eventually. But what I did find was I was able to find a decision tree using these specific heroes right here. So I'm going to share this with you. These, I believe, are the 7 heroes that you need to have summoned for the Mojo Brawl. Corvus, Rufus, Dante, Arachne, Maya, Isaac, and Iris. All right. And then with these 7 heroes, I believe I can defeat every single Mojo Brawl lineup. Every single one. Okay. Now you might say, well, Charlie, if I can pick 5 of those and win 12 times and maybe die 3 or 4 times, that's fine. And you're right, it is fine. If you're just trying to get it done, if you're just trying to get the 12 wins and get out for the day, then that's fine. There is a 5-man team out there. Here, there's dozens of other 5-man team options that would work perfectly well to get your 12 wins and move on. But I like to use these brawls as a learning experience, because potentially these opponents, like this individual right here, John C., has built this Mojo lineup for whatever reason. Because he likes Galahad, Yasmin, Faceless Martha, and another hero, and that other hero he just dropped out and added Mojo. Or possibly he just thinks this is a good lineup. Same with Daniel here. We have an Aurora, Amira, Nebula, Mojo, Orion. This is a magic damage team, right? Magic damage team. So I like to take opportunities like this to learn from enemy lineups and see how interactions work with a hero that I wouldn't normally use in Mojo. And I've come up with this decision tree right here. So this right here is something that I shared with my private group earlier. So this is what I do. When I'm dealing with this brawl, this Mojo Brawl, this is the decisions that I'm making. I'm always using Dante. Dante has the lowest amount of hard counters of all the damage dealers I believe in the game right now. That's a very blanket, very vague statement, but it is partly true. Doesn't need a lot of support, but does well with some support. If there's no Sebastian, use Arachne, and then I decided actually Arachne is fine all the time. If there is a Sebastian, use Maya with Biscuit. Versus magic teams, I'm going to use Rufus. Versus physical teams, I'm going to use Corvus. All right, so if the enemy is building a mage team around Mojo, I'm using Rufus. If an enemy is building a physical team, like that like that Galahad Yasmin team, then I'm going to use Corvus, all right? Versus all 5 magic damage dealers, like Aurora and 4 mages, Aurora, Mojo, and 3 other mages, we're going to swap out Arachne in place of Isaac. I like to use Isaac against teams that have Celeste plus another mage or 2. Celeste plus Aurora plus another mage. Celeste plus Aurora, or Celeste plus Orion. I like to use Isaac against those teams, but I found you don't necessarily need them in this Brawl lineup because Mojo's power level overall is a little lower. Doesn't really charge your Isaac very fast. But if it's a full team of mage heroes, Aurora or Astaroth, plus 4 magic damage dealers or 3 mages and a healer, then use Isaac in place of Arachne. You don't necessarily need the Suns, and the Silence is a lot more effective and it's a lot more frequent. Versus Aurora, use Iris. Easy peasy. I am seeing a lot of Irises on defense as well. Versus physical teams with Yasmin, obviously use Helios. A maxed out Helios, which is what we're dealing with here. A maxed out Helios will counter a maxed out Yasmin just about every time, no matter what other defenses that you have, no matter what other heroes in the lineup that they have. If there's Aurora, but a bunch of heroes that you need to counter, like if there's an Aurora and a Yasmin and a Sebastian, you have to make all these other decisions, like I said up here. You know, if Sebastian, use Maya with Biscuit. If you're not able to get all of the counter heroes in, and you're still facing off against Aurora, use Mara as your team pet to charm and turn Aurora to face the enemy team. A maxed out Mara pet is incredible versus Aurora. Maxed out Mara pet, we're dealing with max testing here in the Mojo Brawl, counters Aurora very nicely, very nicely. And then versus a 2-3 team with no need to counter, that is a 2 physical, 3 mage, or a 3 physical, 2 mage, like a split. If we're dealing with those kind of teams, use those 4 heroes, Rufus, Corvus, Arachne, and Dante, and just about literally anybody else. Okay, so with this decision tree, and this is a little bit more advanced than most people should need to get into, but this is kind of my thought process when I'm building teams, when I'm building and designing lineups. I think about their main damage dealer, I think about my main damage dealer, I think about the heroes on their team that I need to counter, and I need to think about the heroes on my team that their heroes might counter. Okay, and then I think about the strength of the activity. Am I in arena, so it's full auto mode? Am I in Guild War, that I have manual control? In this situation, with certain heroes, with all heroes at max, there are better uses than normal. Like, I probably won't get a maxed out Mara for a very long time, but a maxed out Mara as a team pet is an effective counter to Aurora. A little bit, not all the time. That's not 100% guaranteed, but if it occasionally turns the Aurora and causes her to spam her ult the other direction, it's a nice little counter. And then of course a maxed out Mara on this Arachne is like a 13-second stun, which is just simply amazing. So I've got these 7 heroes, right? These 7 heroes, this decision tree, and I'm able to win quite frequently. So let's take this team for an example right here. We have Aurora, 3 mages, and a support. So versus this team, we're always going to use Dante, right? Dante with Cain. There's no Sebastian, so that we're going to use Arachne with Mara for sure. This is a mage lineup, so we're going to use Rufus, okay? And the pets are going to vary as well, but the pets aren't nearly as important on the heroes themselves, I've found, in these Mojo Brawls. And then the last hero that we're going to choose, because this right here is honestly enough, Iris is going to hard counter that Aurora. Now, since we're not doing a lot of front load damage here, I can drop Oliver off of my Rufus. There's a lot of area of effect damage here, not a lot of single target frontline damage. And then Oliver is a better choice on Iris, and we'll just plug Merlin in on here, just for the giggles. And I like to use Axel, just generic. So then I just full auto, full speed, and let it go. And I will lose occasionally, But like I said, the exercise for me isn't about getting in there and getting done as quickly as possible. The exercise for me is learning the interactions between the heroes. Okay? That's the point for me. That's why I love these brawls so much. And again, another reason why every time that there's a hero-focused event like the Maya event on Hero Wars Mobile right now, how much more effective at a learning experience would it be for new players that don't have Maya yet, have no idea how to use Maya? How much better of a situation would it be for them and us? I don't have a single Maya leveled up on any of my accounts. I would love to have a powered up Maya to play with, right? I would love that. How much more effective would that be as a learning opportunity for some of us? Let's take a look at John C's team. We have 2 physical attackers, 2 mages, and a healer. Okay, so against this lineup, we're mostly dealing with physical attackers here. So we're going to use Corvus. Okay, Corvus is the physical attackers on here are the main issue. I'm not really concerned with Mojo and Faceless's damage output. So we're going to use Corvus, and we're going to put health on him. We don't need Iris because we're not dealing with Aurora. And the main lineup counter for this guy right here is going to be Helios. No Sebastian, so we're going to use Arachne. We're always using Dante. This is the lineup right here. And this is, again, not going to be a guaranteed win every time. But because of the specific choices that the enemy lineup had to make, I can make these decisions to solve this puzzle. Okay. And then, of course, a thick Martha is always going to potentially time you out. Right? But again, guys, that being said, all of that being said, and you can take a look at my log here, I win most, I lose some. You know, I'm losing here and there. You could just plug in a single team. I want to give a shout out to Misty Catherine's Brawl video. She is using Aurora. Of course she is. This lineup for her is incredibly effective and works a lot. Misty Catherine put out her Brawl video yesterday or this morning or whenever it was, and she put together this team, and this team did very well for her, and this team would do very well for everybody, you know, do very well for most people. If you have these 5 heroes, then this is potentially all you need to just go in here and knock it out, right? And if you knew everything there was to know about Aurora and the interaction between Mojo and Kai, then you don't need to necessarily learn how and why this team works, but it won't benefit you in the long run. And the instant that you run into a hero like Isaac, and in her video she showed that even an enemy Isaac was able to not necessarily counter her lineup. She had to play on manual mode, of course, in order to beat a lot of those teams. When you come across an enemy Isaac or an enemy an enemy Iris, you will occasionally run into issues with this lineup as well. And you know, the same thing could be said for, you know, my lineup and my decision tree and all that as well. I just enjoy the learning of the interactions a little bit more. So I will include Misty Catherine's video in the description box down below because I feel like it is definitely worth checking out. Why Rufus, not Isaac? Ben, I find that versus a lot of these mage lineups, people are using things that are a little bit inferior for some reason. I'm not 100% certain why it seems to be working out as well as it does. It is possible that we really don't need Isaac as much as we think we do. But on the other side of things, a maxed out Rufus has always been an effective tool against Aurora, against ODH, not necessarily against the twins, because the twins do something a little different, right? You need more of a Sebastian to remove the watermarks for the twins. So something that I've found very interesting is not a lot of people are using Sebastian on defense. So here's a lineup. Sebastian, Isaac. A lot of people are using Isaacs because they assume the attacking team is going to have to be using Mojo. So a lot of people are using Isaac here, and I think Isaac is the incorrect choice because Isaac in many cases isn't going to charge up nearly fast enough. Mojo by himself does not charge your team's Isaac nearly fast enough. You'd have to do like Mojo with Celeste and Helios, or Mojo, Celeste, Orion with Aurora. But guys, please take advantage of these brawl events. A lot of people say they're so boring and they're no fun, but to me it's almost worth the 1,000 emeralds to just grind it out. Like, you can do this in max testing with your guild, right? You can go into your chat and set up teams and do all that, but those are teams that you set up specifically. When I'm going into this fight When I'm going into this fight against Andreas, I don't see what the pets are. It's very similar to Guild War. It's very similar to Arena. I don't see what the pets are. And somebody designed this team with intention, theoretically. You know, a lot of these, I think, were just the default heroes that were thrown in. Can you use my team, Nate? Sure.